Now, today gives me great pleasure to have somebody that's actually never done a 7:30 presentation before, and that's my dear beloved wife. Today, she is set and geared. She's actually a coach as well. We went through the NLP coaching together. She runs Transform Reform, which is actually her other wing that is focused on personal development and self-help, especially towards the disenfranchised, the youth, the ladies, especially young ladies, girls that are seeking to find their true identity and find who they are. And further, she has, of course, in the last 11 years of our being married, ascertained herself, found herself, discovered herself, and she discovered that her greatest strength lies in creativity. So she's gone, she's what is termed a cake artist. Now that's a very interesting term. Never knew about it until my wife started doing it. I just thought they were all just bakers. You know, that's how funny these things are. But then over the last 4 years, I have seen this massive transformation. Absolutely amazing, from just starting to learn how to bake a cake and do quiche and things of that nature into what is pretty amazing as an art. And I know she is nowhere near where she's supposed to be. And that's the beauty about these things. There's always learning. We're all always learning. I mean, if you plateau, then that's a very bad place to arrive. You should always be learning, always be adding, always be working on your craft, always improving it, always striving to be better tomorrow than you are today. Compete against yourself, not against your neighbors. And that's what she has done. And so today it gives me great pleasure. I'm asking all of us to just give her a big thumbs up as we bring on stage, talking on a subject that's really amazing, the social versus self-identity, the crisis of true self. So the true self crisis is her presentation this morning, and let's put our hands together as we bring her on board right away. Over to you.
Wow.
Please go.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope everyone is doing fine. My name is Sibongile Mwambazi. I am a baker and cake artist. I'm a cake artist because I like to transform somebody's personality, just anything, and present it in cake. That's why I call myself a cake artist. And besides that, I'm a life passionate about helping young individuals find their identity by connecting them with their true self and bringing awareness around their self-identity, confidence, life goals, and core values. So today I'll be sharing on social identity versus self-identity. So before I go any further, I would like to just give a short description of what identity is. So this is the shortest one and easiest one. Identity is who you are, what you think about yourself, how you're viewed by the world, and the characteristics that define you. That's, in simple terms, that's what identity is. So you see, identity is centered around environment. And in that environment, that's where there's a component of culture, where you find belief systems. This is where you find religion, moral standards, and characteristic traits. And for characteristic traits, we pick them from outside. It's different from personality traits, because personality, you're born with it, it's already inside you. But with characteristics, this is what you pick from your environment. This is something that you see from your environment and you believe and see with your eyes, and now it works on you. So when you come from an environment which does not value education, you will think of it, because that's a programming. It's been conditioned for you to think that education is not, you don't need education to go anywhere in life. But we all know education plays a vital role in somebody's life because it unlocks your mind to think in a certain way. It teaches you how to read and write, and it's from there that you unlock the potential that lies in you through that education. At least you can read, you can express your ideas into reality. So now if you come from this background that does not value education, it becomes a conditioning to you that you will live by those standards, knowing that education is nothing. A perfect example I would give, in most most Africans, we've been programmed to think that whites are superior to Africans. You see, this is a mental programming that the slave traders brought, and it's been in us. So anywhere where you see a white person, people shiver. We give more respect to a white man than your fellow. It's been conditioned in us. It's been a programming that's been going on, and it's just become a mindset. So now when you come to social identity, this is where you tend to believe the perspective of someone else about you than what you believe in yourself. That happens because you do not know who you are. Remember that identity is tied to your purpose. So if you are not sure, you have no idea of who you are, it's more like, I would say, you won't even know, you won't have clarity of where your purpose lies, because you have not identified who you are. You don't know anything about you. So now you tend to live by the standards of what your environment around you and what society tells you how you're supposed to live. This is where now there is a disconnect between your natural abilities. This is where your purpose lies, and acquired knowledge. Why I say so? Because a lot of people, because they want to live by the standards of what society tells them, they found themselves, they haven't embarked on that journey of self-discovery. I'll come to that later. So you find yourself you're in a career that you don't like, you're doing a program that you don't like, because you're seeking for approval by the society. Validation tells you is what is trending. I would give an example on myself. There was a time before I knew who I was. There was a time I found myself doing EMIS. That was the course that everyone was doing. It's information management, something to do with computers. And that time, at the job market for EMIS was like hotcakes. So everybody was doing that course. I found myself doing that course. I didn't know who I was. So I did that course, but I just wasted 3 years of my life. I never did anything with that. I got my certificate quite all right, but it just occurred to me that working with computers and doing this computer software programs, it wasn't my thing. So again, living by the standards of society, now there was you have to, if you work in the diplomatic service, you can be a trade attaché, or, you can be secretary and all that. I was so excited. I went and did a course in international studies and diplomacy. It was the same thing. So I had to come to that realization that I am living by the standards of society and not myself. Because when you have discovered who you are, your purpose is very clear. There's clarity of where your purpose lies, because it's doing something that just comes natural to you. You don't remember anyone telling you to do it. It just comes natural. And that natural ability makes sense. If you already know where your natural ability lies, then you go and get you acquired skill to be better at what you already know that comes natural to you. and you add expertise, because then you are living a life that is fulfilled. You don't struggle to do anything. It's already in you. I would borrow the words of Dr. Acker, that purpose precedes you. It's already in you. But for you to unlock it, you need to come to a realization. And realization comes through a revelation, because if you have not had a revelation, you would think whatever you're doing is okay. So you need to come to that point of having a revelation. That's when now transformation begins to take place. So without that, you feel your life is okay. So really, I would also give an example of Rowan Atkin, because he did not want, Rowan Atkin is a famous Mr. Bean. We all know him. The man is an engineer by profession, and he's a genius. But because he did not want to live by the standards of what his environment and society around him, he defied those odds and went on ahead to do what he was passionate about, being a comedian. And we all love what he do. So most people, I believe, if you define who you are, if you find your purpose and you're able to define who are you, because a lot of people, if we had to find them, if we had to ask them, who are you? Most of us would need somebody to describe who we are. We're never to describe who we are as a person. That's why we find ourselves living by the standards of what society or what our environment tells us. We need to come to a place where you have to search deep inside of you and come to a realization to know what you are made of, to know what is about you that makes you unique. Because when you find what that thing is that makes you unique, you would not want to compete with anybody. You would not want to live the standards of what society tells you. You don't want to be defined by anybody else. You can define who you are as a person. That's where I would say finding yourself is a very important journey to embark on if you want to see you live a life that is fulfilling and not wanting to live by the standards of what society tells you. This is what I had for you. Over to you, Rev.
Okay, so before you go, I just want to, I'm off screen, that's on purpose, but I just want you to just go a bit deeper into the aspect of self-identity, because the social identity is true. So many people struggle with the issue of social identity, like you've well elaborated. But how then do they find their true identity, self-identity? How's that discovered, in your opinion?
Okay, so like I said, the first way to discover your true identity, of course, is through a revelation. Besides that, I really believe you have to be around like-minded people who can help foster positive vibes around your life. People who are of a certain mindset, who can start helping you to reinforce positive vibes about you.
Okay, and so now how does that come out? What are the clues in you that will tell you, oh, this is where I really am?
It's about, realization, and you need transformation. And you just find yourself doing certain things that are natural to you. Okay. You don't have to struggle to do certain things.
So would you say that people who are naturally gifted in particular, that's already the clue to who they are?
Of course, that's a clue, but because they're not sure and there's no one to reinforce that, to tell them, to encourage them, to say, this is what you need to run with. All you need to do is acquire the necessary skill to be better at this. There's nobody to tell them that. So you find that's where they end up doing things that everybody else is doing, and they think that is what they're supposed to be doing because there's no one to foster that in them.
Okay, so the last question before I come on. So how then, now let's assume somebody has discovered, I'm really good for pika. I really cook. Every time I cook, people say, wow, wow, wow. But she's an accountant. So how do they, and they don't really like the accountants. They just do it because they have to. That's what's paying the bills. They're in a situation where things are tight. So this is what is paying money. How do they make that transition? Because that's where a lot of people, I think, are.
That's where, yes, it's very challenging. And cooking, you know, you don't make much money because you have to reach a certain point and you have to specialize for you to reach that level. But you know, if something, it's really something you're passionate about, it's something that you really want to do. I mean, what's the point of being in this job that drains you, it stresses you, you don't find any fulfillment? You just have to come to terms with it. And you just have to come to terms with it, and how can I say it? Slowly you need to sit down with your family, you need to find, I think this is where you need a mentor to guide you.
Yes.
Yes, because absolutely. A mentor is already somebody who's way ahead of you, and they'll be able to direct you where you're supposed to go.
Okay. So I'm trying to move closer. Oh, I think let me pull her so that we fit in the screen. No, this is not doing us justice. All righty. So there you have it. A very, very elaborate presentation. We still have quite a few minutes. And so let me also come in and just reinforce what she said. You know, it's so true when she speaks about this transition. And I think that's where I want to kind of pick it up. You know, a lot of people find it very hard. And this is the reason why groups like this one, this 7:30, did I just go to 9:30 group? 7:30 calls group exist. The reason is because when you start getting into those right circles she's speaking about, they will help to pull you into your true self. Because the society is always dictating, isn't it? Yes. I mean, on Saturday I was at a presentation at House of Bread Church. Very honored to have been invited there. Magistrate Fushimanga, through her, the singles there, and the Bishop Chivesakunda. I had been invited to speak to the singles. And there was something very profound that I said, which later the bishop actually quoted. It was so wonderful. He said, I said, that a woman or man is not defined as lacking as a single. And this is one of the things that our culture dictates, isn't it? They say, oh no, you have to be married. That's when like your true, I don't know what it is, personality or whatever and you know, there's this thing where they say better half. So we've always argued, and this is something even she knows, we've always argued that there's no such thing as a better half. In a marriage, it's one full person coming to another full person, which then makes a full couple. So it's 1 + 1 = 1. But society makes women, especially here in Africa, feel like they are less. But even the men, I think, because Coach Ted complains bitterly about it, right?
But the emphasis is really on the woman. It's like, if you're not married, you're not complete, you know? So there's nothing wrong with not being married. You have to be complete as a person, because if you don't understand who you are, how are you going to play that role in the marriage? Because you also have to bring something to the table. So now this is where you'll be wanting your spouse to start validating you. And if he's not validating you, then that becomes a problem.
A massive problem. And I like the fact that, Sibo, you've brought up the word validation, because that's one of the greatest challenges we see. A lot of people go into marriage with these expectations. I mean, okay, all of us do, right? Yes, we all go in with expectations. But the problem is, if you go into that marriage, Dr. Nelly really, really nails this, right? She says, if you go into that marriage with these expectations and then you're not validated by your spouse, that can become a very big problem, because now you keep seeking this validation, and because it's not coming, it starts defining and messing your character, and then it leads to very bad behavior. The behavior or actions are coming because you're seeking validation, and because you're not getting it, you're trying to kind of wrestle it out of this person. Then you're using it to define yourself. And that's the social identity she's talking about, which is a crisis. Because at the end of the day, you should come as a complete whole into that relationship. If you come and you bring your A game, there's a great teacher in West Africa who said, and I quote, "The quality of your help as a husband is best seen in your ability to allow your wife to bring her top self." So the way you release and bring out the best of your wife will actually increase the quality of help you get as a man. So unfortunately, a lot of people, this is where they kind of go wrong, because what they do is, especially men, is they put down their spouses. But you know what, I think it's on both sides, isn't it? I mean, there are many marriages where even the wife is putting down the husband all the time. And yeah. So anyway, yeah. So it becomes a problem later, because then these people suffer a serious social identity crisis, and that's what really Coach Sibo is stressing today. That we need to find our true identity. So the big question: how do you come out? She said it. She mentioned that the first key is to start discovering those gifts. But beyond that, you must begin to practice them. You must begin to create a plan on how you're going to move out. And that's why we do all this vision casting, we do all these goal settings and self-discovery. I mean, all these programs are designed around giving you some insight or clues on who you are. So meaning you answer all these questions and you start to see the onion layers coming out and revealing you. Now, once you discover who you are, then you say, okay, so now how do I move from here to where my dreams are? And that's the course that you start to map out. It's not going to be easy, because every time you move from a place of social identity to true identity, you know what happens? Society will scream back at you and say, that's not how you should be. That's not how, you know, I can tell you, even me as a pastor, every time I'm always reminded, so why don't you just start a church so that you do this? And you know, there's so much pressure. I mean, to some extent, even people have come and offered money to say, we will support you and support your ministry. But you see, is that really who I am? Is that what God has called me to do? And if the answer is no, don't try. Because what you do is you end up being up. I mean, very famous big church pastors committing suicide. How can a pastor commit suicide? This is a man of God operating in the kingdom of God. How do you commit suicide? My answer, they become depressed. What causes depression? Answer, disillusion. What causes disillusion? Answer, unmet expectations. You see how that comes back?
Yeah.
Unmet expectations. In other words, you are no longer your true self. You are just in this thing, you're just going, but you feel so inadequate. You feel so useless. Like, you know what? This is not me anymore. And it's really scary when it's a pastor, you know? It scares people, because then you go, oh my God, even a pastor can die of depression. I mean, here in Zambia, we had one who committed suicide recently. So you realize that they are playing the social card, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're playing the social identity card, and it's messing them up.
Just to cut you short.
Yes, please. In fact, just come in.
They're playing the social identity, because you see, most people nowadays, they prefer to be described by other people. They feel other people know them more than they do with themselves. That's the reality of things. You feel somebody else, but you should know you should know yourself more than anybody else, because when you ask somebody to describe you, you should know where they're telling the truth about you and where you know yourselves. But it's the world that we live in, that we allow other people they make a better judgment of ourselves than we do with ourselves. That's why there are all these issues that we're seeing around. How does somebody really commit suicide if they know who their true identity is? I tell you. So in conclusion, I think Coach Sibo raises such powerful points. We look forward to seeing you more often as you come and break this further. But to all of you watching today, maybe you have a parting word before we wind up. Do you have any word, especially to those that are really struggling? They feel, they know it, that they're living a fake life, but they are successful. Outside, they look successful. Everybody's like, yeah, clapping for them, but inside, they feel so hypocritical. What do you say? Well, what I would say, the parting words, okay, so if you don't have somebody who you look up to, I think it's better you find yourself a mentor, because a mentor is somebody who's experienced. They've gone through a lot of things, so they know, they can tell you, they can help you unravel that potential that is that lies within you. And also, you just need to pray. I'm a firm believer of prayer, because I know it's only God who starts revealing certain things about your true personality. It's God who starts giving you insights of what you're supposed to do. So if you're not you're not a spiritual person, I think the best is to find somebody who you trust and who can mentor you in a certain area and help bring out that potential that lies within you. Or if you're not certain of what you are, a mentor is a person that can help you with certain aspects of your life.
Yeah. So there you have it. Find a mentor. That's Coach Sibo's parting words. Find your mentor. Somebody saying self-discovery is the way to go. Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
We do. We have self-discovery. We also have unleashing your destiny in our business group. These are very, very important, and we're going to be bringing a lot of courses over the next couple of months. Very powerful. We've got a program and LMS. We're putting together a learner management system. This will start actually helping individuals. For very minimal fees, you connect, you go through a course, you undergo testing. When you're done with the testing, you get a little certificate for that. We're putting that up in the next 2 weeks so that as many people can connect at their own times. I mean, we have a huge challenge with the internet. So a lot of people say, when you do those live things, we fail to connect, or it's busy, we've got to do this. So everybody's got some problem and program. So what we're doing is we're putting together that, and that's going to help you to be able to get started on this journey. But I tell you, if there's one key message you take from Coach Sibo, it's this one: find your true self, because only by finding your true self can you truly live as God called you to live. And if you're not sure about how that's happened, the Bible tells us, pray to God sincerely and don't doubt. He is not a God of partiality, has no favorites. He will reveal to you. Don't doubt when you ask. So if you're not sure, ask. James chapter 1, verse 3, 4, somewhere there. Ask God and he will show you. And that's the best thing we can actually give as a parting word. And so happy that most of you were on our call this morning. I see Kayambila. That's a new one here. Hey, that's my genius colleague. Great. So to everybody else, thank you so much, Coach. We look forward to seeing you more often. We should do this more often. I'm really, really stressing. People have been blessed. All righty. Have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Bye.
Cheerio.